Hello and welcome to This Could Start an Argument with me, Matty Hill.
And me, Sophie May.
I'm quite pleased with the episode 1. Didn't go down too badly, did it?
I am. I actually had, so obviously all people that I know, messaged me to say that they enjoyed it and watched it, and I actually can't believe that people watched it.
No, I know. I can't believe that many.
Or listened to it.
I can't believe people actually care about what we have to say, but it's quite nice. It's quite good. There was a few things we touched on that I kind of think would be good to explore and kind of talk about today. And the little carrot I dangled last week for everybody about you losing the kid, I want to talk about that.
Go on, then.
Because I think it's a good segue into a bigger topic that you came out with this week as well, didn't you?
What's that?
Yeah, ADHD.
Oh, yes.
So I think it kind of links nicely to that. And I would like to...
I don't think that has anything to do with me having ADHD.
You could make the argument that you lost track of the kid because you were ADHD but undiagnosed.
Maybe. Right, let's talk about that then.
So go for the story.
Wait till I get you back with a story of your own. Well, you start it because you mentioned it. You put me in it.
Well, so this was quite early on in our... We were
so I
dating,
just
were we?
moved to Chorlton, where you were living.
Yeah, we don't need to go over that. People know that,
we'd been dating, and
we were together. Right? We were a couple at this point. Yeah.
I can't remember.
You had this.
I had 2 jobs. So
yeah.
Basically.
Oh, you're telling the story now, are you?
Oh God.
You just asked me to do it.
Go on.
This could start an argument. So, from what I remember, you were going through this period where you had multiple different jobs. You kind of didn't really know where you were at, what you were doing. And this one I remember was... Well, first I remember you working with homeless people or some homeless shelter, I think, or something like that. Because I remember seeing an Instagram story where you were asking for donations or something like that. But Anyway, this one was working in a children's home, but not like but a home where... Almost like a corrective home, is that right? Where like these are kids that are going to be on the street if they're not in this place, and you were looking after them. No,
not really. No, they wouldn't be on the street, but troubled kids. So one of them had. Good thing I've not thought back to this time for a while. So basically, this is the first time that I had worked with children. I'd taught kids yoga like ages ago, but it was my first job doing this, and we had a little bit of training, but this was... So I'd only had 1 shift, and there was 2 people on at a time, and you had 2 kids, so they were both 15. One of them had been reported of sexual abuse, but... Yeah, it wasn't like proven, and was just really naughty and got himself in trouble. So, and we were in Gorton, by the way, which is like, I think the worst place to look after kids.
No offence to anyone who might be listening from Gorton, but I think it's the definition of shithole.
Well, so I didn't know where Gorton was or what was in Gorton, but where we were... it was rough, and to nurture these kids that had troubled childhoods, I just thought it was the wrong place. But anyway, so we had this place in Gorton.
Sorry to interrupt you, but just talking of Gorton, I just remembered. I remember picking you up, I think, from a shift. You'd done like an overnight shift. I think I remember picking you up, and I parked the car in Tesco in Gorton. And no word of a lie, this is the only supermarket I've ever been to in my life where the protein bars were in one of those protective casings that you would normally put like DVDs and PlayStation games, and then in some supermarkets like really expensive steak.
Yeah.
But protein bars at like £2.50.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry, carry on.
So anyway, and then the other kid had really learning difficulties, anger issues. Both of them had anger issues. And they're 15, so they're both bigger than me or taller than me. And I'd only done 1 shift, and then they needed cover. And on my second ever shift, I hadn't had all the proper training yet, actually, I think, if I remember correctly. And just to let you know, they failed their Ofsted. So it's not just me. Like the whole, it was not a great placement to be with, especially for your first time working with children. There's a lot of paperwork that you need to do, and a lot of red tape. But essentially what Matty's wanting me to get to the point of is I was left on my own to stay overnight on my second ever shift. Hadn't had all my training yet. And the two boys had made the dinner. They were about to go off to bed. One of them was kicking off, the one with learning difficulties, and but I managed to calm him down. And then the other one, the one from London, came down with a massive bag, but it was a laundry bag. So, and I don't know why I didn't click, but it sounds so stupid when I say it. And he was like, I'm just going to take it out to the bin. And I was like, why? And he looked suspicious, but I thought like he'd, like, I don't know, like I thought maybe he'd wet himself and like he was just wanting to put something in the bin. And I'm not going to like go rooting through his bag, because there's only so many things that you still have to give them their privacy. Like there's so many things that you can't do. So I couldn't have, so it wasn't just as easy as I'll look in your bag. So I was like, I'll give him a bit of trust here. And then he went out with this bag and said he's going to tip it in the bin. And then he didn't come back. So when I say I lost a kid, he's 15, right? He's massive, way taller than I am. Has grown up in London in like the roughest parts. Like, I couldn't have physically stopped him anyway. Meanwhile, the other kid is laughing at me like, he's gone, he's not coming back. How did you not notice that he had that massive bag? And I was like, well, it looked like a laundry bag, and I thought he was putting it in the bin. So then I had to ring the police, like do all of these things that I'd not even been taught yet. And it was, it's funny to think back on, but also I had to, they then realised, like, why was I staying over on my second ever shift? And to be fair, they didn't blame me, and they said, if he wanted to run away, even if he hadn't done the sneaky bag issue, he could have just gone and run, which we actually had with the other kid once. We were in the car, we were driving, I wasn't driving, one of the other support workers were, and when he in his anger, he just opened the door to the moving car and jumped out. This was the other kid, and we had to so this job was hard, and they failed Ofsted because they didn't have all the correct things and trainings in place. But Matty loves to tell everyone that I lost a kid. He ran away.
It's quite funny.
He ran away.
So I wanted to segue from that. Not that we can really blame your ADHD on that, but I think it's quite a good topic to move on to. So you've just recently come out, haven't you, with your ADHD diagnosis? Yeah,
I recently got diagnosed, which
explains a lot, I might add.
Yeah, but it's also mixed feelings. So for those that don't know, I have struggled with my mental health from a very young age. From the age of 13, I remember having suicidal thoughts. Nothing happened to me. I had a great childhood. There was no, one event. I was just a really sensitive child. And now that makes sense from the ADHD diagnosis, because what I didn't realise, so you told me for ages, you were like, I think you have ADHD.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, I don't, because I'm not hyperactive. I'm actually a quite calm person. And although I have to change and do a lot of things, if I get stuck into a TV show, I could gladly sit there and just watch it back to back. So for me, I was like, but that's not ADHD. Like, you're running around, You're hyperactive.
Well, that's what everyone thinks, isn't it? And that's what recently, like, the more it's been looked at, and especially in women, it just presents so differently than your stereotypical I'm hyperactive, I'm bouncing off the walls, which is what I remember growing up, and the kid that wouldn't sit still in class was always, that's the kid that's got ADHD. But it's completely different now, isn't it? Like I said, it presents differently in women than it does in men.
And women are able to mask it a lot more.
And women mask it better, yeah.
Which means they hide it, or they're able to kind of copy those around them and do what they're doing. And it's not lying, it's you're doing it to fit in. And I feel like now that I know, I've realised how much I've masked, and that's probably why I struggled the way I did, because I was trying to keep up with everybody around me.
It makes sense from the mental health standpoint as well, though. You're saying then, like, at 13, it, from everything that I've heard about it, that fits. The depression diagnosis that you got at 13, it fits with ADHD. It fits with...
So I didn't actually get diagnosed at 13. So I'd come home from high school and I had friends. One of my nicknames was Giggles because I always used to be laughing, but then I'd come home and cry myself to sleep. And I remember hiding it from my parents for a while and then kind of opening up that I didn't feel that I fit in, that I just felt different. And then it wasn't until I was 16 that I actually went for counselling. But again, I hid it from my mum and dad. I was really embarrassed. It wasn't really a thing back then at that age that people spoke about. And I know that a lot of people were suffering silently with it, but it was never spoken about. And I was seeing a counsellor secretly at 16, and then I finally told my mum and dad, and they were really supportive, and they were like, you should have told us. At 17, I went on antidepressants because I tried the counselling, and I've been on and off counselling, in and out, of counselling for years. And it's something that I'm really struggled with. And going back to the ADHD, so I actually have what they call the inattentive type, which I'm no expert in this, I'm still understanding and trying to learn a lot about this, but the inattentive one is the quieter one. It's more internal rather than the hyperactive one, so you can look calm, and it's harder to tell that you've got it, really. Is what I understood anyway.
So I think it would be really helpful for everyone listening who maybe thinks they might be ADHD themselves, or if they're going through, maybe they're on that journey as well. Just talk through how you feel almost like on a day-to-day basis, because I know that, so for example, I know your sleep, like I know that you can sleep for days. You could go to bed at 10 o'clock at night and sleep through to midday.
Is that an ADHD thing?
No, I don't know, but I don't know, but that's what I'm asking. Like, talk us through how you feel and what your symptoms are like, because you could have 12 hours in bed and you could sleep for the 12 hours and still wake up the next day exhausted. And I'm like, so is that because your brain is just going a million miles an hour that you can't properly rest because of how... Because I remember a couple of weeks ago, I think you sent me the link, something about like the electrical signals in your brain and how they're just like pinballing around. Like, if that's happening where you're asleep, it would make sense as to why you're not getting a restful sleep.
Yeah, so what Matty's talking about is, I can't remember who it was. It was somebody famous, and then somebody who actually had been diagnosed with ADHD. I don't know what type, but they measured both their brain waves, and the person with ADHD brain was going crazy. And then they did it when they were looking at a phone, and they just had to look at one thing. And again, the person with ADHD, their mind was going crazy, however they measured it. So there was a few tests that they did because sometimes, although I know ADHD is real, it feels like everybody has it, which is a good thing because it's getting more diagnosed, and that's why it seems like everybody has it. But also sometimes you think, oh, am I just kind of moaning about another thing that I've got and kind of making excuses for the things that I struggle with?
Yeah.
So to actually see that they've done an experiment, and I'm sure there's loads more out there, but this was done on TV. I'll have to see if we can find the clip and post it below.
Yeah.
But to actually see that with somebody that hadn't been diagnosed with ADHD and didn't think they had ADHD, and someone who had been diagnosed, that their brainwaves are so different, it's like there's science behind it, and there's actual physical things that are happening in the brain. So were you going to say something?
No, well, I was going to say about how it does seem like a lot of people are being diagnosed with it, which is a good thing because it means that there's obviously more like awareness of it and stuff. But going back to you and like the symptoms that you have. So we've just mentioned then about your sleep and how you never feel like you've got restful sleep. Like what right now? Like what's in your brain right now? Like you're sat there thinking, is it like you're sat there looking at me like, yeah. You looked at me and it was like, you know, in The Simpsons where like it goes like Homer's brain and there's just like a monkey with symbols. Like that's what you look like that then. But what like you zone out? We could have a conversation. We had one just before and we were talking and I'm having a conversation, then I look at you and you're just like away with the fairies, just like, sorry, I zoned out.
Yeah.
How does that
So, you know, I was always
you?
scared to actually tell people that I zone out quite a lot because with clients, especially coaching clients, I was like, oh my God, what they're going to think, or in Reiki. But it's so different because it's like I'm putting on that mask again, but not in a way where I'm lying. It's just like, right, I've got to be super focused. And if I really try hard, and also it's something I'm passionate about is helping people, then I can stay tuned in and I'm really hypist. But obviously...
hypist? That's ADHD.
Hyper-focused. But then with you, because I'm so comfortable with you and it's just chit-chat, you know, it's not like... you're not paying for the session.
Also,
it's different.
I can sometimes speak and make things longer than they need to be, so
I have a very relaxing voice.
I'd probably zone out of my own conversations too sometimes, to be fair.
No, but I do zone out a lot, and that was one of the biggest things that when I was getting diagnosed was they were asking, are you a daydreamer, do you get distracted? And I remember even at primary school, we had a really small year, so it was really easy. I did really well at primary school, but I remember always zoning out and having to whisper to the person next to me, like, what are we having to do? And it wasn't because I wasn't interested, it's just I would zone out and daydream like I just did then for a split second and just miss what the teacher said. At high school it got a lot worse, and although I did okay at high school, you could tell. So do you know when you have your SATs and then they're like, right, this is where you'd be at your GCSEs or in year 9?
Yeah.
It went way lower because obviously you're a bigger class. There's people messing about in the class. There's so many distractions. You're not getting as much one-to-one support. So unless it was something that I was really, really interested in, like performing arts or PE, more the practical stuff, I really struggled.
Yeah.
So that is like the biggest telltale, is if you keep kind of daydreaming and zoning out or getting distracted without meaning to. It's not even that you're not bored. Like I worry sometimes, like with you, that you get offended that I don't care, but it's honestly, it's just your brain goes and you've got no control over it. But somehow in sessions I manage to stay focused, because I guess with coaching as well, you're listening out. There's so much listening in coaching, more so than speaking, because you're listening to what that person's perhaps not even realised they've said, and you're helping them to figure out their own mind. So you ask a lot of questions.
Yeah.
So I'm very lucky in that aspect that I can kind of mask it and really like turn on the focus. But yeah, when I'm just relaxed naturally, or I guess if it's in a classroom or in a group, I do zone out and feel really guilty for it as well.
Yeah, I think for me, for living with someone who has it, it's not so much a... What's the word? What did you use just then? What did you say? You just said like
Maybe
offended.
burden.
No, offended. A burden. No, it's not a burden. I think it's more just sometimes a bit frustrating.
Yeah, I get that.
But not in like... I know you don't mean to do it, but it's just frustrating sometimes, because if I'm trying to have a conversation and then the next thing, especially if it's like quite an important or serious conversation, and then the next thing you know, I'm like looking at you and you've moved on.
And usually it's when when something's come into my mind, like that's really important, or I forgot to do that earlier, I'm thinking, oh my God, don't forget that. So then, and then you're speaking to me, but I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to do this thing before I forget it, because forgetfulness is a huge part of ADHD. And I don't know why. I don't know if it's just because I'm more aware of it, but I feel like I lose things more than ever.
Jeez, how many times have you lost your rings?
My rings, my keys, and I think what happens is when I'm putting something down, I'm thinking of something else, and so I've not realised where I've put that thing down because my mind's been distracted.
Yeah.
So when you're like, when's the last place you had it? I've deleted, like in NLP we talk about the filters, and you delete a lot of information. We receive 20 million bits of information per second, but then we filter them. We'll delete a lot of information, and I've deleted that information of where I've put something down, and then me and Matty have to turn the house up trying to find it, and usually I only notice that I've lost it at the last minute when I need to leave and I'm already late. So it can be really, really stressful, but something that I want to come back to is the sensitivity, is the depression of it. Now, I don't know how many people have suffered with depression who also have ADHD, but what I didn't realise is there's the heightened sensitivity, that you're more emotional and more sensitive to things. Because I actually, so being honest, last year I went through a breakdown. Would you call it a breakdown?
Yeah, I'd call it a breakdown.
It was a big one.
Scary.
Yeah, so I've been on and off. To be honest, since doing NLP, it's been a lot better. But then I decided to come off my medication because on social media it was all about, you know, being healed, and especially if you're teaching about mental health, to be off medication. I'd never judge anybody else for being on it, but I felt so good that I was like, I'm going to come off it. But before I'd come off it, my forgetfulness again. I actually had been off it for 2 weeks, and because I forgot to pick up my prescription, and then I was like, I actually feel fine. Like 2 weeks, surely that's out my system now, and I would have had like a bit of a breakdown already. So then I just didn't take any, and then I can't remember, was it 6 weeks later or something like that. It was more my obviously it was in my mind as well, but it was more my physical body. So I have had anxiety before, but this was like I was in a constant panic attack.
Yeah.
Like my breathing, I was literally like this 24/7. Like that, wasn't I? Like calling my daddy was like, just breathe, and I was like, I am, like I can't slow it down. It was a scary, scary time.
It was. And like you say about your body, like you kind of, at one point I remember driving you to A&E, and you'd like seized up, like your hands were like, you couldn't move your hands, could you?
Yeah,
and
my hands froze, my fingers all froze. It was so scary.
There was, and we'll probably talk about this at a later point, because we actually haven't really got any information on it yet. You're waiting to hear back, aren't you, about your hormones, and think there's something wrong there. But something else that you struggle with that adds to that is you suffer really badly with periods, don't you? And like not just period pain and this when you're on your period, but like in the days leading up to it. It's the week leading up to it is a pretty torrid time for you. But I remember going back to you saying about the breakdown last year, going back to that, and kind of there was a load of things just leading up to it, wasn't it? It was coming up to your 30th birthday, and you had kind of all these different thoughts about that. It was probably around your cycle, maybe. The time frame I can't remember exactly, but it wouldn't surprise me, especially given it lasted for a couple of weeks, if that had an impact. But then I just wonder, there was obviously you not being on your medication. Then did you go back on it? Did you go back on it?
So when we went to A&E, or the doctors, I think, they then put me on it, because I was constantly in panic, I think, for a week, and then they put me on it, and then they sent me to A&E because my body was freezing up. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't eat.
You just weren't doing anything. I could barely
drink water.
It was like leaving you to go to work was...
My dad had to come over.
It was horrendous, because
my mum came over to look after me for a bit from Devon. Like I'd say I was the worst that I've ever been, and
without doubt.
It was a medication reaction, so not just in the physical body, but obviously in the mind. So we went to A&E, and then she actually said that she thought I had autism, which I've been told by one of my previous counsellors that he was autistic, and he thought that I had it as well. And I was like, I've kind of heard that before from this guy, but when he'd said it, it was like 3 years prior. I was actually quite offended because, again, to me, autism was like really high on the spectrum where they can't socialise. I was really naive to the different versions of autism.
But that's, again, it's the same thing. It's like you when you don't know someone, whether you don't know someone personally with it, or you're just subjected to what you see, whether it's in the media or social media, you kind of pick, right, that's that. You know, it's like what we said about ADHD. Well, ADHD for us growing up was always hyperactivity. It's the kid bouncing off the walls. Autism, when you don't know anything about it, you just pinpoint to people that you like, famous people who have autism, or their kids have got autism, or some kind of like that's what you go to, isn't it? When you don't know what it is, that's what your brain's just going to jump. Well, I don't do those behaviours, so I can't be.
Bear in mind, I'd been in and out of therapy since I was 16, 17, and so that was when I was in Chorlton, actually, when I had that counsellor. So that was 4 years ago. So I was really confused why no one else had picked it up. So I kind of just left it. He sent me a few videos, but he actually, although I was thankfully brought it up in the end, like now, he didn't say, oh, you go to your GP and you tell them you think you are and you fill in a form.
Yeah.
Like, I never got told that. So I just didn't do anything.
Well, this
about
whole
it.
thing started from your breakdown, didn't it? Like, when we went to A&E and we spoke to that psychiatrist, and she recognised traits in you from how we were talking about what you were like in your story. She recognised traits, didn't she? And did she recognise in her daughter? Yeah,
had got late diagnosed.
Yeah, and that kind of that incident. So although it was a terrible time and it was horrible for you,
she didn't say ADHD. It was me. It's, I think, from you saying it, and then I think my friend got diagnosed with ADHD, so I was like, I'd rather check both of them at the same time. And I actually had my autism test the week before my ADHD test.
Yeah. And
they said that I had some of the traits, but not enough to tick to say that I am. And which
still baffles me, to be fair. I mean, I'm no doctor, but I was convinced that you were going to come back ticking all the boxes for ADHD and autism.
Yeah, well, again, women mask it, and it's so hard to... I guess if I went on the call again, maybe they would tick the boxes because I know more what to look for. Yeah. Whereas I was just hoping, like, they would just pick it up. And like I said, they did say that I had some of the traits, but again, women mask it more than men. It's harder to find in women. And because we've masked for so long, we don't know we're masking.
Yeah.
So a lot of the times when they're asking questions, I might not do what they expect an autistic person to do, is because I've masked for so long. But what they did say, so I was a little bit confused because I thought, oh, well, if I've got ADHD, yeah, that explains some of my mental struggles. But what about the sensitivity and heightened emotions? And actually, ADHD does have some of that as well as autism. Mm-hmm. The only thing that did surprise me is, I don't know if probably people know me, I'm really sensitive to touch. Like, I have become
overly sensitive to touch.
Yeah, as in not like touching somebody, but like clothes on my
how
skin.
Things feel.
How things feel. Like, I could love something the way it looks, but if it doesn't feel nice on the skin, I'm like, I'm not gonna wear it. So
it's taken me 3 years to finally convince you that fabric softener or fabric conditioner is not essential in the washing machine. And that actually you insisted for years that, like, you've got to put fabric softener in with the towels because the towels get rough.
Nothing worse than a crispy towel.
No, yeah, but you are so heightened to that. The touch of clothes, like, you won't buy something if it feels off. Yeah. Like how many things have we thrown away because you don't like the touch?
Yeah, or just not bought.
A lot.
Lots.
The answer
Probably
is
why
a lot.
You just see me in soft jumpers or like baggy trousers because like softness.
So if someone was listening to this now and is like, I think I resonate with what you've said, I'm wondering whether maybe I've got ADHD as well, or at least I'd like to try and find out. what was the process like? Just like tell people what the process was like. What did you have to go through?
So a lot of people don't know this. So the first steps, and I assume it's the same for everybody. So obviously people do it privately, and there is a waiting list on the NHS. And I did get told it'd be 3 years, but mine took just over a year. So I don't think that's that bad. Obviously it might be different in different areas. So first go to your GP, say that you think you have it. Maybe have some of the points that you think you have, and then it's just like a little questionnaire form. Like I don't think it was tick box. It was either
numbers.
Was it numbers? Which I find hard anyway, but it was numbers, and you had to rate like how true one of the phrases was for you. So you did that, and to be honest, some of the questions I was like, I don't even know how to answer that, but I just went with whatever. So it is a weird test to just clarify.
I remember you going through it actually and thinking, how do you answer that? And also it was like, we knew that you needed to get a score of 7, didn't you? Or something like that. You had to get a certain score
of 6 or 7, so I was a little bit worried, and I was thinking, if someone's autistic, I reckon they go for that, but I think I'm in the middle. But I did go naturally with what I wanted to go with.
Yeah.
But anyway, so you had to get over 6.
If in doubt, get over 7, just so you can get a test. This is not medical advice, by the way.
No, well, that's actually what my counsellor said. Even if you fail the test, it doesn't mean, like, still ask them to push you through. Because it's hard to explain, but if you have the test in front of you, for somebody who has ADHD, it's hard anyway.
I remember you asking me one of the questions, especially for the autism one, wasn't it? It was something about, was it, how did they phrase the question? It was something about, in a social situation, would you think this or
this? And I was like, I feel both, and it's like, how, anyway. So
I wouldn't want to be in the social situation in the first place, leave me alone.
Yeah. So that's the first thing, and then you try and get over 6. I can't remember how many questions there were, and you do it there and then, or I did anyway, or you can take it home. Then they send it off, and then that's when the wait begins, and it's like a year long. They reach out to you then to somebody that you've grown up with, so that knew you as a child. So I,
mum and dad, didn't you?
Yeah. No, I think just one they were after, so I just got my mum to do it. Then I had to fill in like a deeper questionnaire. I think I had to do a phone call as well. So there was a long wait until I got that, and then they'd ask for my mum to fill in something, and then you wouldn't hear back for a bit. Then they'd ask me. So they were just getting more and more information. And then obviously the main test bit is you go on Zoom. With my autism test, there were 2 people on the call. With my ADHD, there was just 1 lady. And then they're just really nice, but they just ask you questions. And yeah, you just answer them as honestly as you can. And then
wait.
Yeah. And then, oh no, so they tell you on the call.
Oh, right, yeah.
The good thing is they told you there and then. So the 2 that I was on for my autism said, we don't think... So they went off, they put themselves on mute and the video off. They spoke for a little bit, came back on and said, we don't think you have it, although you have a few of the things, not enough to qualify. However, we've seen that you've got your ADHD test coming up. We can't give you a diagnosis of ADHD, but you're showing a lot of signs of it.
Yeah.
So then that kind of gave me hope, because it's weird. It's like you don't want it,
but you want it to make sense.
But then you also, why have I struggled all this time with everything? And like I say, there's not one event that caused my depression, because if there was, that kind of would have been easier. Not easier, it'd be horrible, but you'd know where to focus your energy, whereas this has just baffled me for years.
So what do you feel now? How do you feel now you've got the diagnosis? Relieved?
A bit of everything. So when I was 21, we kind of going back again, I was really bad at that time, and I managed to get a psychiatrist. This has been when I was in mental health, in and out, since I was 17. I only got to see a psychiatrist at 21.
Yeah.
Right, so it was really, really hard. And I wish I'd gone with somebody. He said that he thought that I had borderline personality disorder and avoidant personality disorder. And I asked him, okay, well, what can I do? And he was like, there's nothing that really you can do. It's nowhere on my records, which is mad, because it was through the NHS. They didn't give me any follow-up, like nothing. So I actually still don't really know what those mean, because, again, I was overwhelmed at 21. And he didn't say I definitely had them.
You were showing signs of it.
Yeah, showing signs of it, but then no help. So that was really frustrating. And when I told the psychiatrist that I saw last year when I was 30 in the hospital, she was like, a lot of people who they think have borderline personality disorder are actually autistic. And then obviously it turns out now I'm not autistic, or maybe I am, and who knows.
Yeah.
So it's mixed emotions because, like I said, it's not fixed anything. I've got to give my blood pressure results in now. I think there's medication I can go on. I'm not sure if I'm going to go on that. I'm hoping that there'll be some sort of ADHD coach, but essentially it's up to me now to either invest in somebody or do the research myself.
Yeah. And whether or not you have medication.
Yeah, exactly. So it's bittersweet. It's like, finally I've got a diagnosis, but then also it's like, well, now what? But what is so lovely is I did a post on my Instagram, and so many people have either reached out saying that they've been diagnosed. A lot of people diagnosed late, actually.
Yeah, a lot of people are diagnosed late, yeah.
Yeah, and then a lot of people that actually have reached out thinking they have it and asking me, what they do. So you go to your GP, say you think you have it, there's a form. That's like the first bit, and then they'll kind of talk to you about that after. There is a bit of a waiting list, but luckily I did get it on the NHS and it was only a year. But it's hard. It's like, how did I get missed? Like, I have had at least 10 counsellors, either through CBT, talking therapy.
Yeah.
Then that's the second psychiatrist I've seen, and it's...
I guess you don't know what you don't know, and people at that point probably didn't know what they were looking for. But now there's more information available, there's more research, there's more testing, there's more whatever. I guess it's now more...
There just needs
it's
to
now
be
easier,
a bit more
I guess, to be...
help for after. So if anybody out there has been diagnosed with ADHD and is getting more care from the NHS, let me know what it is that you're getting, because sometimes you don't know what you actually have access to as well. And hopefully by the next podcast episode, because there's a waiting list for medication, and there's a waiting list, I think you get to see a coach, but I'm not sure, so I'll keep you posted and updated with all that information. But I am grateful to the NHS and grateful that I've got this diagnosis, and now I can actually start. For me, I don't like researching something until I know I have it, because I'm like, what if I waste all that time?
Yeah.
And I struggle to focus anyway. So now that I've been diagnosed, I am beginning to look into it.
Struggle.
Look into it a bit more.
But yeah, that was really interesting. It's also good for me to... Obviously, I know partly like what you're going through and stuff, but it is always a good reminder for me to understand what is going on in your head and how you are thinking, because I can joke and talk about how it's frustrating that you misplace things or you zone out, but I understand that it's more frustrating for you because it's not like you're trying to do it.
Yeah, and you're like, why didn't I've lost them earlier today? Why did I not just put them somewhere that I know? Yeah,
but it's really fascinating. Hopefully, people have taken quite a bit from that.
Yeah.
If you have any questions, just you're the one answering them, not me.
No, but it's good because some people listening might not have it, but know someone that they have it. I can't even speak. You know what I mean?
I think, we get you.
But also, because it is hard to live with.
Yeah.
So it's not just how it affects me, it's how it affects you.
And if anyone in my partner's got ADHD wants to join my club, support work for their partners, support group for the partners, let me know.
Keeping you sane while you look after us.
Yeah.
But there are some superpowers to ADHD, which I think we'll touch on next time, and more ways, like I say, I'm no expert, but ways to help manage it and to work with your brain rather than against it.
Yeah, it's an ongoing thing, this, isn't it? You've got this now, so you're just going to have to muddle through it and work out what works for you and what doesn't, I guess.
Yeah, that's it. And be more
share your journey
compassionate to myself when I do lose things or zone out.
Yeah, hopefully that was helpful for everybody listening. If you have any questions, I actually want people to... I'm going to put another question box. So I put the question box... Like, last time in the episode, I said I want people to ask us questions.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I'm not... I don't want to go on about it, but I put a question box up twice and nobody asked me anything. So Clearly, nobody cares about my opinion.
Well, basically, what for anybody who does want to listen to us ramble on, what is it that you want to hear from us? There's so much that we can cover, from mindset to NLP to yoga to Reiki to spiritual to.
And that's all Sophie.
Well, no, you coaching as well in NLP.
Yeah,
trained.
no, that's true. But the Reiki, the spiritual stuff, that was you.
Like relationship problems, just marriage, whatever it is that you want to talk about.
Yeah. And any questions that you have for either of us individually about each other is pretty good too. That was a little segment that I wanted to add in.
So
do you remember
somebody asks
us?
So I don't know what you're going to ask me,
Yeah,
and then you
yeah.
ask me when we get on the podcast.
Yeah, that was a little segment.
Nothing
that one.
rude, please. People.
The little game I wanted to play that I mentioned at the end of last week's episode was people message in like a question that I have to ask you, but you don't see it, and you have to ask me, but I don't see it, and then we just go bang.
Well,
there
I
we go.
might think
Answer.
of my own questions to put you on the spot, seeing as you put me on the spot today about losing that child.
Well, I mentioned it.
Away.
I mentioned it. But before we finish, we've got that thing that we have to do, which is what has annoyed you about the other person this week.
Oh, I think that's really mean though. Shouldn't, because it's nearly Christmas, we have something nice.
Okay, we can flip it. We could say what's something that's the other person's done this week that you've really liked.
Go on, Nan, you go first.
So, well, obviously it was my birthday in the time that we've done this episode and the last one. So you did a really good job on my birthday. So that was really nice. I really enjoyed
Matty
that.
pretends that he doesn't want anything for his birthday. He doesn't want a fuss, and he really does. It's
the 12 days of madness, isn't it?
No, but you really pretend. I don't want anything. I don't want to do anything. But then
I really secretly want you to make a massive fuss. Yeah, absolutely. It's the 12 days of madness, you know. Matmas Day, and then we have boxing.
You're 33
madness.
now, aren't you?
Yeah, 33. Getting old. No, but going back to the actual point, I had a really good birthday, and I was really grateful for what you did. It was really nice. You pulled out all the stops this year, so I was very spoilt. So yeah, that was good.
I'm glad.
And so now me, what have I done that's good?
I would say you cooked my dinner. So
Multiple times.
Yeah, but yesterday I was feeling, so I'm due on my period. And as Matty mentioned before, I get really heightened emotions before coming on my period. I won't even talk about the moon yet. That can be another episode. But I was feeling really down yesterday, and then I ordered these meals from Grubby. Don't know if anyone's had them. They're like Hello Fresh.
They
but they're
take
vegan.
over the fridge.
Yeah, I have got a lot of them in the fridge because I forget
ridiculous.
to make them. But and Matty made one and didn't even. I was like, you can have some of it because it's 2 portions. I've saved some for today actually because you didn't want it. But you've done that quite a few times. When if I don't have time to make a meal or I'm going out, you'll have my tea ready for me when you're not even having that meal.
Some call me a saint. I wouldn't go that far.
No, but it's just the thought. Like, I just love thoughtful things. Like that is my love language. Thoughtful things and touch, like cuddles, hugs. Yours is words of affirmation, isn't it?
Yeah, I like being told that I'm good. And on that note, we'll end it right there. Thank you so much for listening. Hope you've enjoyed that. Like I said before, get your questions in or put another story. I might just get you to put a stories box up because
I do get more.
You're the one who gets the interaction. No, leave me. Yeah, you put it up. Get your questions in and we'll answer them on the next episode. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you.
We'll see you next time.